So this is part 2 of our injector rebuild. This is for a Ford 4000 series tractor with a diesel in it. So we've got the injectors rebuilt here. I have another video that shows that. So we're going to be putting the injectors back into the head. Now there is a brass washer at the bottom of this that needs to drop down into the cylinder, and that injector has to sit down on top of it. So I'm placing it down in here, and there's also a rubber washer or gasket that goes on the front of the injector, and it has to slip down into the head to actually seal underneath the valve cover. That way the oil doesn't come out. So I make sure that's seated down in there real nice, and then we can put the bolts back in, and I'll repeat this for the other injectors as well. So after I finish installing all the injectors, I put the fuel return rail back in place with the brass washers there, and I'm going to slide the valve cover back in place. Now you need to be careful with the return rail because these things like to leak. I tested mine when I did the injection pump on it, and it was not leaking. A lot of these tractors, if it starts to leak, it's leaking inside the valve cover, and it will put diesel fuel down into your oil pan. So that is a common problem on these specific tractors. In years later than '64, they moved the injectors to the outside of the valve cover, and it didn't have a problem with that. So I'm getting the fuel tank back in place here and getting all the lines hooked up, and we're going to give her a test here in a minute or two. One thing with a diesel that you definitely want to do is replace the fuel filter anytime that you're doing any work on injectors or injection pumps or anything like that, even lines, because if you get any type of debris into the diesel fuel, it can really wreak havoc on some of your systems. So I'm going to check for leaks here, and the other thing we have to do on this one is bleed out the fuel filter itself. Now this will take some time. I skip ahead here, but you open that bleeder at the top, and eventually once the filter fills, it will allow fuel to come out around the edge of this hole. You'll see it come out pretty steadily once it reaches that point. So now that we have fuel in the filter, everything should be ready to go, and we're going to turn the fuel on for the tractor. And as you can see, the injection lines here are still unhooked, and we're going to crank the tractor over with the fuel on, and it's going to allow fuel to get pumped through the injection pump up those lines and hopefully push any dirt or anything out that's in those lines. It's also going to prime them and make sure that there are no air bubbles in the system, so the tractor will fire up much quicker when we go to start it. Now each injector line can be reconnected, and we will go ahead and try the tractor and see if it'll fire up properly. really wish I had gotten a video to show you guys how much white smoke the tractor was producing before I did the injectors. It was enough that it created a cloud wherever the tractor was, even outside. And this is much, much better. I know it's got a little bit of smoke still coming out of there, but it definitely improved a whole lot. So now that everything's working properly and there aren't any leaks, it's time to reinstall the hood side and get everything put back together. I made sure that the tank was bolted down properly and checked for leaks underneath it. So if you have any questions on any of the specifics of this, please let me know down in the comments. I can answer anything that I've gone through for you. I've done a lot of reading on the injectors and how to do this procedure on the tractor before I started doing this project.